quiet room. They said the manor had been tastefully modernised. That was the phrase on the website. Tastefully modernised 19th century estate with self-catering accommodation and picturesque gardens. Exclusive use. Perfect for weddings. Sophie loved the place on sight. Ivy growing like veins across the warm stone walls. Tall sash windows that caught the golden light just right. A winding gravel path leading down to a little lake. It was romantic without being precious. Remote without being desolate. "Can't you just feel the history?" she said, holding her fiancé's hand. Tom, practical as ever, had smiled. "As long as it's got hot water and a functioning bar, I'm in." They booked it that afternoon. Heronwood House, July 29th. Everything went to plan. The guests arrived in clusters, glowing with wine and sun. There was laughter, speeches, flowers, candles flickering in antique lanterns. Sophie had never believed in perfect days, but this came close. It was one of her bridesmaids who suggested the game. "One last bit of fun and nonsense before you have to get serious and boring," Lacey joked, slurring a little. "Tom hides. You find him." "Call it a bridal rite," said someone else. It was a silly tradition, possibly made up on the spot. Just past midnight, with music still humming faintly in the marquee, and people drifting back inside, someone clinked a glass. "The groom is hiding," Lacey announced. "Sophie, you've got until the clock strikes 1. Sophie rolled her eyes. "Seriously?" "He said he wants you to find him," Lacey added, a little more gently. "No one else, just you." That changed something. Sophie smiled, a bit shy now. "All right," she said. "I'll play." She searched the main hall first, stepping softly over the old oak floors. The house had grown still in the way old buildings do when parties end. Shadows deepened in corners. Walls seemed to lean in. She checked the breakfast room, wine cellar, the old chapel room with its crooked pews and dusty altar. The guest rooms were mostly dark. She hesitated at the end of the long hallway. A heavy curtain hung at the far end, shifting slightly in the night breeze from an open sash. Behind it was a door. She hadn't noticed it before. It creaked open. The room was heavy with the pressure of silence, the air dry and still, pressing softly against her face. A storage room, long and narrow, full of cast-offs, disused chairs, battered trunks, frames stacked against the wall. At the far end, a large chest sat like a sleeping dog. Sophie stepped forward, careful not to let her dress brush too much dust. "Tom!" No answer. She crossed further into the room, touched the chest. Heavy oak, the lid shut tight. She hesitated. What if... And she smiled. Of course. She opened it. Empty. The breath she'd been holding slipped out in a huff. She laughed quietly to herself, and then she saw the plaque. A small tarnished brass plate nailed to the wall just above the chest. In memory of Clara Ashton, 1988 to 2011. Beloved daughter, lost, then found. Sophie stared. Her skin crawled. She turned and left the room, suddenly no longer interested in games. She found Tom 20 minutes later. He was in the library, curled up in a velvet armchair with a paperback mystery he'd found on the shelf. "You weren't even hiding?" she asked, half laughing, half furious. "I did for a bit, and I got bored." He looked up. "You okay?" She sat down next to him. There's something about this place. Upstairs. That storage room." She paused. Did you ever hear about anything happening up there?" Tom frowned. "No." She didn't press it. Instead, she gave Tom a tender kiss and dragged him playfully off to their room. But later, when everyone else was asleep and the house lay quiet as if holding its breath, she searched the name. Clara Ashton, Heronwood House, and for some reason added bride missing. The results were sparse, but there was enough. Clara Ashton was due to marry at Heronwood in 2011. She'd gone missing the night before the wedding. Police searched the estate. CCTV had gaps. No sign of her leaving, no sign of a struggle. They searched the lake for days, and when nothing was found, people assumed she'd run. Out of character, yes, but what other explanation could there be? But then, in 2021, 10 years to the day, a contractor renovating a wing of the house found her body in a chest. The same chest in the storage room, Sophie realised. Blood going cold. The one she'd opened. The autopsy ruled it accidental, death by asphyxiation. The lid had been impossible to lift from inside. Her voice muffled by thick walls, the knocking never heard. Sophie stared at the screen, long after words had blurred. Later, she would wonder what made her go back. Maybe it was some instinct, maybe it was guilt, or the sense that something wasn't finished. But go back she did. She returned to the storeroom the next morning. The chest was still there, but different now, cleaned. Its lid cracked open slightly. The brass plaque polished. The smell of dust had faded. There was a single white rose on the lid. Fresh. She looked around. "Clara?" Her voice came out quieter than she'd meant it. The air stirred, cool against her cheek. She didn't hear a voice, not really. Her thought pressed into her, like the pressure of a fingertip. "Don't hide." She backed out, heart thumping. Over the years, more brides told similar stories. A woman glimpsed in a mirror always behind them, never fully reflected. A hand on the shoulder in a moment of doubt. A door closing just before they stepped through. Whispers that steered them from wrong turns. Always upstairs. Always near the quiet room. Some described her face. Pale, beautiful, sad. She saved me, one woman said, trembling. They should leave her flowers, said another. And they did. Now, there's always a small bouquet near the chest. The staff don't question it. Some of them remember what happened, though they don't talk about it. Others just feel it. The presence. Gentle. Watching. Sophie and Tom return every year on their anniversary. He holds her hand. They walk past the hallway, never down it. But once, on their 5th anniversary, Sophie lingered, just for a moment. She thought she heard someone breathe, just beyond the curtain. A whisper, lighter than air. Oh, good. You found him.